How are you all? How's everyone doing? Still in lockdown here in sunny old London. What is it now? Is it week 9 or week 10? Time has become sort of odd, hasn't it? It's sort of become very like a blancmange of time. Just walking past Leighton Sixth Form College here on Essex Road, and I'm heading to an ancient parish in the forest. It's very exciting. The place of welcome. Can you guess what I mean? Yes, Walthamstow, the ancient parish of Walthamstow. I'm going to go to the heart of the ancient parish, the Saxon settlement that would have been built in a clearing in the forest on a high ridge overlooking the Lee Valley. It's a place of great romance and a place that the locals have taken to calling Awesomestow. Why would you not want to go to Awesomestow? So that's what we're going to do. Here we have Notts Green, a remnant of the old landscape of Leighton. This was once surrounded by fields, stood in open countryside. The road here to the right, Lee Bridge Road, is one of the old roads of the area leading up to the forest. Look at that traffic tailback. It's just after 5:30 on a Friday afternoon, and that's like back to normal levels of traffic, isn't it? So we'll just go down College Road here, and we've passed from Leighton now into Walthamstow. Just want to say a big hello to all the new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. Been an upsurge in subscribers recently. We were trending on YouTube the other day. Creator on the rise. That's not just me, that's us. If you don't come here and watch the videos and click like and comment and share the videos, that doesn't happen. So thank you very much for helping make this channel, put it on the trending page on YouTube. It was a big moment. My kids were finally impressed with something I've done. Right, I think here. So we're on Grove Road here, Walthamstow. I have a feeling, without having checked the maps, that the curvature of this road and the name means I think this was marks possibly the contours of a grove, of a wooded area. The forest, Epping Forest, the Great Forest of Essex, until the 1770s it extended down to the River Lee in places. So part of this area would have been covered by the forest. So I think we'll walk up Grove Road for a bit, because it's got kind of a magical feel to it. Although everyone attributes the name Walthamstow to meaning a place of welcome, certainly Stow is Anglo-Saxon, and that's not really much contested, but I do think it's a little bit of a coincidence that the manor here was once held by a guy called Waltheof. It's the time of the Norman Conquest, and he was the son of the Earl of Northumberland. I've talked about him in a video before, but he was quite an interesting character, and he put up such a staunch defence of his lands that William of Normandy had a certain amount of respect for him and allowed him to keep his manors. This manor here, the manor of Walthamstow Tony, and he even married a niece of William the Conqueror, William of Normandy. He was such a kind of spirited character that he started to plot against William, and his wife, William's niece, told her uncle what he was up to, and he was executed inevitably. Butterfields won't budge. This was the scene of a very successful campaign to defend these homes from being privatised and developed. It was great. It was a good news story, a successful, spirited community campaign. Old tree over there. Looks like it might remember when all of this was countryside, when this was just a small village on the edge of the forest. This part here, leading into Shernhall Street, has the feel of an old country lane, doesn't it? We're just 6.5 miles from the City of London here, aren't we? And yet you do feel like you're out of London somewhere, that you're at the very edge of the city. Got some old trees here. There's a big old tree up ahead. I'm nervous about naming the trees now. because I get it wrong so often. I think that was a sycamore tree back there. Please tell me if I was right or not. So we've got the Lord Raglan pub here on Shernhall Street. And this is a point. We're going to turn down Shernhall Street here. Shernhall Street is another of the old roads of the area, and I've read that it takes its name from a muddy stream that ran through the area. So whether Shernhall, I don't know what part of the name comes from the muddy stream or not. We know that pilgrims travelled through Walthamstow on their way to Waltham Abbey, which was a pilgrimage route, and there was Barking Abbey, and they would have passed from Barking Abbey to Waltham Abbey through Walthamstow. And I've always wondered whether, as this is an old road, it's one of the old medieval roads through the area, and possibly even older, whether this was part of the pilgrimage route that people have taken. And I wondered that partly because it sits on higher ground. Leighton High Road was also part of the pilgrimage route, but it would have still been fairly boggy and marshy on the lower level. So I wonder whether this might have been a pilgrim route where you'd have pilgrims passing through here. Before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Damien, Paula and Marge. Damien stopped on his bike the other day on Leighton High Road and gave me some great tips for walks I could do when I got a bit of transport and I can get out along the Medway. So thank you for that, Damien. I look forward to doing those walks in the future, and I'm always keen to hear suggestions for walks. I mean, obviously at the moment I don't drive and you can't really use public transport, so I'm limited to where I can get to on foot, but that will end eventually. So, cheers, Damien. Bit of a confession, I've never actually been in here. It's an interesting development. There's like a gin distillery here, which I think is called Mother's Ruin, or a gin bar. There's a brewery, a wild card, God's Own Factory, God's Own Junkyard. Never been in. Strange time to come here when it's all closed. Blitz Factory, that looks good, doesn't it? Look at that huge sneaker on the top there. That'd look amazing when it's all lit up, wouldn't it? And this is a real tease, isn't it? All these beer barrels that we can't get to.
You know that it's like that.
I was doing a live stream for my Patreon supporters, and there was a knock on the door, and I got a call from my kids. I was like, oh, I can't come down, so I'm doing a live stream. But it was a delivery of beer from the Wanstead Tap that my sister bought me. And the taste of that draft beer, some draft beer in a bottle, oh my God, it was like the best thing I've ever tasted. Oh, it's a good smell. Beer from here, there's a brewery. Pillars Brewery. This looks great. This is the Pillars Brewery. I've never heard of Pillars Brewery, but man, that's an incredible smell. So this is great. Look, there's Mother's Ruin over there, the Gin Palace. Very colourful. You can imagine what it's like on a Friday night when they've got the tap rooms open and everyone's out here drinking. I'm sure they will be again at some point in the future. There's Wildcard Brewery there. Their beer is really delicious. You can buy it in a lot of local pubs. When the pubs were open, you can buy it in shops. I'm sure you can probably buy it direct from them actually. So you can order mini kegs from Pillars Brewery and get them delivered to your home. I mean, that's too good to be true, right? That's got to be done, surely. And also, I just want to give a shout out to Sam, a young fellow. I just met him there. He was walking through. He watched a couple of my videos of river walks. We had a little chat. Thanks for that, Sam. That's really enhances the experience for me. That road down there leads down to Wood Street. Another one of the great roads of Walthamstow. These featured in a previous video I've made. I'll put a link to that below. Great Wood Street covered market down there. So we're going to go down Church Lane now. That will take us into the conservation area and will lead us to the heart of the old Saxon settlement. Walthamstow was one of the early centres of the film industry in London. There are a number of studios around this area here. Back up on Wood Street there are a couple of studios, and down on Hoe Street, and somewhere I think Black Horse Road as well. And it was where they did some early kind of silent Shakespeare. Did some quite notable productions. I think there was a film about the Battle of the Somme was shot here, and of course they used Epping Forest a lot as a location. Bremer Mews here is a reference to the first British car that was built, and it was built here in Walthamstow, the Bremer car. They have a version of that car in the Vestry House Museum. Church Lane and Church Hill were believed to be some of the early routes that connected up the settlements when they were in the forest, and there were a number of them. One was here at Church End. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But when you walk along this lane here, which leads on and curves round into Church Hill, you feel like you're walking along an ancient lane, don't you? Whether this is the route that connected the Saxon settlements or not, I don't really know, but it's got the feel of an old forest lane. This is clearly a notable building here at Church End. We'll have to look up exactly what it was. This is Bishop's Close. So this is the cryptically named Ancient House. It dates from the 15th century, would you believe? And this is the real heritage treasure of Walthamstow. So behind this glass panel here, this is what it looks like behind the exterior kind of plaster. Look, this is the interior of the wall. You've got the wooden beam and the kind of, whatever that is, like wattle and daub, is it? Isn't that amazing? And here we have the wonderful St Mary's Church, first recorded in 1145, but it's believed it replaced an earlier Saxon wooden church, the kind that we saw out at Greenstead, not far from here really. So it's believed that this was the site of the original Saxon settlement of Walthamstow, the main Saxon settlement that would have been one of a number of them in clearings in the forest, joined together by a series of forest roads, quite simple forest roads, and there would have been a road that carried on from here deeper into the forest. And you can feel it, can't you? It's on a very prominent position on a high ridge of land overlooking the Lee Valley. And then on the other side of the forest you'd have had the Roding Valley on the other side, so it occupied quite a prominent position. And Church Hill, just on the other side of the church here, would have been one of the main routes that led down to a settlement that would have been by the River Lee. It's a really beautiful, tranquil spot. Lots of people kind of sitting out in the churchyard here, escaping the pandemic. Got a prominent tomb here. Mrs. Solly, wife of Isaac Solly Esquire, died on the 27th of May, 1819, aged 77 years. Today is, I think, the 29th of May. Here we have Vinegar Alley, besides the Monoux or Monoux almshouses. I think people call it Monoux, to be honest with you. I think these particular almshouses here are mid-18th century, but they were originally established in the 16th century, and I think some parts of the buildings do date back to that time when they were first established. This is Vinegar Alley. You can see why they call it Walthamstow, can't you, when you come round here. It's really beautiful. I know there's a lot going on in Walthamstow, and this is just a little tiny corner of it. This is the heritage corner of it, if you like. There's so much culture in Walthamstow. But I think that's the thing that often gets talked about, isn't it? The way that it's the new, what do they call it? They call it the new Hackney or something offensive like that. But it's this aspect of it, the deep history of it, the settlement in the forest. Is what I've come to look at today. So this is the fantastic Vestry House Museum. I believe the building was originally built as a workhouse, and it's also served time as a prison in the past. And now it's the Vestry House Museum and the Local Studies Archive, a really wonderful, vital local institution. I love this place. It's great that we have local studies archives like this, where you can email an inquiry to them and then you can come and visit, and they'll get materials out of the archive, and you can sit there and you can look at old maps of the area and old documents, and the staff there will help you find what you're looking for. It's an amazing resource. Obviously it's not available at the moment, but when it's back up and running, if you've got an interest in the area, I highly recommend a visit to the Vestry House and to the Local Studies Archive. This is the Nags Head pub. It's quite an old pub, but the wine cellars here are said to be 16th century, dating from a previous inn. It's the real heart of the Walthamstow village community. Beulah Path. I love this little path here. It's a little romantic back way. So we're at the end of Orford Road here, the main drag through Walthamstow village. So this is the original Walthamstow Town Hall. I think it was previously an assembly room, then taken over as the Town Hall in 1876. And incredibly, this was still Walthamstow Town Hall up until 1941. Interesting, it's a lot quieter here than I thought it would be. I thought this would be, I thought it'd be quite busy down here actually. I mean, you can see there's people kind of gathered around the Nags Head, but this is a real hub. The pedestrianised bit of it down here is usually a real hub, and I thought there would be quite a lot of people here. I can see there's a few people down here, but even so, this bit of it here, definitely quieter than I thought it would be. Actually, there's quite a lot of people sat over there in the little square with pints of beer and stuff. This is a great old building here. They often have artwork in the windows. East London Sausage Company, very good sausages. That's the Queen's Arms there. Wonderful Orford House Social Club. It's a great old institution, also home to the brilliant Stowe Film Lounge, which I highly recommend. Well, I definitely spoke too soon when I said how quiet it was up in Orford Road. It's like quite a gathering there around that little square. Everyone's sitting around having a drink in the sunshine. I guess why not? I'm just going to go up here, Grosvenor Rise East. Eventually loop back up onto Lea Bridge Road. The Castle pub here. I went in there a couple of years ago on Halloween. It was actually quite nice, although it's sort of quite, I don't know, sort of gentrified gastropubby type place, but it was, it was a decent pub. There's quite some view from up here on Eden Road. The view stretches for miles. Oh, thank you so much for joining me on that stroll through the ancient parish of Walthamstow, the Saxon settlement on the forest fringe, on this high crest of ground, and it's good to end it at a point where we really see how high up we actually are here. It's a really wonderful conclusion to this walk, to get that view. Beautiful. So thanks again, and thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. It's greatly appreciated, and it's greatly appreciated to all of you watching this video and commenting. Highly recommend, after you've watched this video, go down and have a look at the comments. The comments will be full of really interesting information and anecdotes. And as ever, I look forward to seeing you all on the next walk, wherever that may be. Maybe we'll be going a little bit further afield next time. Let's wait and see, shall we?